Hey y'all, what's happening? I'm Resk'Que. So, every end of the week, my mother calls me just for me to help summarize and explain the news, trending hot topics of the week. You too, like my mother, may be wondering, so what happened? This week, hot topics. Let's talk about it. After Donald Trump tanked the stock market earlier this week, tweeting to halt negotiation talks of the stimulus package, he reversed course and now back to the negotiating table. As a few hours ago we heard, he is willing to do a deal on $1.8 trillion instead of the $2.2 trillion proposed by the Democrats, a shredded version of their original $3.4 trillion in the HEROES Act. Will Nancy Pelosi accept, or will the Democrats accept this new $1.8 trillion? Could it be a deal?
There is still a question, though, over how long it would take to get a deal done, even if Democrats do agree to this number. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was just saying earlier today in Kentucky that he thinks it's unlikely an agreement could be reached by the time of the election. But we now know that the White House will be increasing their offer to $1.8 trillion. Scott?
And Elon, the Democrats have been where? 2.2?
$2.2 trillion. And it also seems unlikely that Pelosi would be able to pass anything in her caucus that is below $2 trillion. So we'll see if they can come to some sort of agreement on the top line. And also remember, it's not just the overall number, it's also the details of the language as well. Pelosi has said that she wants to ensure that she's not giving the administration a blank check. So there is still a lot of fine tuning to go, even if a top line number is agreed to. But what we are seeing now is the two sides coming closer together after we had thought that a deal was completely off the table just days ago.
We'll see what happens. Did you watch the vice presidential debate? There were some few memorable moments. Yes, that includes the hard looks and the honorable fly guests causing all the buzz.
Unlike the first presidential debate, Harris and Pence avoided personal attacks while being mostly cordial.
He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait.
I'm speaking.
Is the next presidential debate going virtual? You are probably ready for a rematch of the presidential debate. We all are. But it seems the president isn't feeling it. He declined the invitation and would rather do a face-to-face debate to avoid being muted on a Zoom call, a Zoom conference.
I beat him in the first debate. At the second debate, we have a never-Trumper as a host, but that's okay because I beat him in the second debate also. And but I'm not going to do a virtual debate.
So you're not. So, Mr. President, you're not going to do it because the CPD, the Commission on Presidential Debates, announcing this morning that the second presidential debate will be virtual. Are you saying you're not going to participate?
No, I'm not going to waste my time on a virtual debate. That's not what debating's all about. You sit behind a computer and do a debate. It's ridiculous. And then they cut you off whenever they want.
But is the face-to-face, safe? Being that he's contagious with the novel Roni? What do you think?
This morning, President Trump was celebrating the experimental antibodies he was given at Walter Reed Medical Center on Friday, saying falsely that he thinks he's cured from his coronavirus infection. There is no cure for coronavirus, of course.
In the video the president released, he makes a comment that maybe he's immune after declaring he feels better. Can someone who is still infected with the coronavirus be immune? What do we know about that?
No, it doesn't even make sense. He's probably still infected. Probably if you cultured him, he might have fragments of coronavirus and, RNA fragments still. But he's clearly not immune because he got coronavirus. I don't know that he knows the meaning of the word immune. Maybe he misspoke. I mean, I know that, we're on the news often. Sometimes I use the word wrong. Maybe he misspoke. He is not immune.
Yeah, and also, I'll say, he says he feels 20 years younger. Could that be a side effect of the steroids that they're giving him?
Yeah, definitely,
okay.
For sure.
Just checking.
The president, however, claims he is cured with a Regeneron, an antibody treatment that was developed using cells derived from aborted fetal tissue, currently in an experimental stage that was, used for the president. Wait, I thought the president is pro-life.
Receiving several days of care and treatment. Can you walk us through what we know so far about the care that he received versus, the sort of care that an everyday American might receive if they find themselves so sick with the coronavirus that they are at the hospital?
So, he received a completely different level of care that anybody would get, because from what they were reporting and what they were giving him, there was we got two different messages, right? So the first, they said he's really not sick at all. This is all a precaution. But within the first day, he got remdesivir, which we know is reserved only for hospitalized patients who can get it based on compassionate use in very few hospitals in the United States. Now, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have got it because he is the leader of, the United States, but he cannot keep on saying on the news, you're going to beat this. This is nothing. He got steroids, which are reserved for people who are hypoxic, who are in severe respiratory distress. He has care around the clock. He got polyclonal antibodies from Regeneron, which is still in a study, and I hope that it did work, and it was the reason that he got better so quickly. But the average American and the average person in the world is not has no access to this. So it's completely misleading when he says, go back to your lives, do whatever you want, you're going to beat this. Because unless we all have access to those drugs, we're not going to beat this.
Well, this treatment is not yet approved, but it costs around $100,000. Although the president desperately said out loud he will make it free if he wins. Don't count on it.
But they gave me Regeneron, and it was like unbelievable. So I just want to say we have Regeneron, we have a very similar drug from Eli Lilly, and they're coming out, and we're trying to get them on an emergency basis. We're going to work it so that you get them, and you're going to get them free, and especially if you're a senior, we're going to get you in there quick.
Well, although up till now, the president's medical team refused to answer when he last tested negative, well, he claimed the president, is cured with this Regeneron treatment and may now be immune to the virus. Can we trust anything he says?
More on that outbreak linked to the White House. We know now at least 34 people have tested positive, while the president in an interview today said there's nothing wrong when it comes to his condition. In a video he posted on Twitter, he acknowledged he had been very sick. And what he also said in the interview about a White House meeting with Gold Star families more than a week ago, that they wanted to get close to him. He didn't stop them. But we asked tonight about those families. Has anyone reached out to them? Could they have been exposed? Here's our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
Exactly 1 week after he said he tested positive for COVID-19, the president today declared himself cured.
I think I'm better. When to a point where I'd love to do a rally tonight. I wanted to do one last night, but I think I'm better. I feel perfect. There's nothing wrong.
Although in a video released today but recorded yesterday on the South Lawn of the White House, he acknowledged he had been very sick.
I went into the hospital a week ago. I was very sick, and I took this medicine, and it was incredible. It was incredible.
In reality, we still know very little about the president's true medical condition. He says he is still on the powerful steroid dexamethasone, but his doctor has not taken questions since Monday. And the White House is still refusing to say when the president last tested negative, something that is critically important in determining who he may have infected, or even whether he already had the disease during his debate last week.
Mind you, 30 people and counting who worked closely with the president tested positive since the super spreader event. Remember the event to announce the Supreme Justice? Yeah. The replacement, Amy Barrett?
Meanwhile, pictured here are only some of an increasing number of people testing positive for COVID-19 who spent time near Trump before he was admitted to the hospital on Friday. On September 26 in the White House Rose Garden, President Trump announced his Supreme Court nominee.
Interestingly, it seems Mitch McConnell, his biggest ally, the Senate Majority Leader, doesn't trust how the president and the White House is handling the virus. I bet he would not go to the White House anytime soon. Would you?
The recklessness of these people, the danger they pose to everyone, has been evident to everyone watching. Just this afternoon, after all this, with his father, wheezing on videos, okay? Just hospitalized with hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical care, Donald Trump Jr. headlining a mostly unmasked indoor rally as though the pandemic were over. Though, who does understand reality? The president's perhaps most important political ally, Mitch McConnell, who today said one of the most devastating things I've ever heard about Trump and himself. It basically, in so many words, McConnell said, I have stayed away from the White House because the president is so incompetent. His team is so incompetent, so dangerous, so deluded that I would not trust him with my own personal health, even though I'm going to do everything I can to keep him in power.
I haven't actually been to the White House since August the 6th because my impression was their approach to how to handle this was different from mine. If any of you have been around me since May the 1st, I've said, wear your mask and practice social distancing. It's the only way that we know of to prevent the spread until we get a vaccine. And we've practiced that in the Senate. Now, you've heard about other places that have had a different view, and they are, paying the price for it.
Wow. Think about what he just said there. And Mitch McConnell more or less comes out and says the White House had it coming.
On another news, the FBI stops a plot to kidnap Michigan's governor, Resk'Que Whitmer. Looks like the Proud Boys, perhaps, or some homegrown terrorist organization ain't happy with her. But what'd she do, though?
To that chilling bust in Michigan, 13 suspects, members of a militia group, now facing charges in an alleged plot to storm the state house, kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and start a civil war. ABC's Alex Perez is in Lansing with this story. Alex, authorities say they've been watching the governor's home.
Yeah, Cecilia, good morning to you. Authorities say several of those arrested suspects were actually here at the Capitol before the pandemic, protesting the state's lockdown. The FBI first started closely monitoring the plot back in March.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, the alleged target of a foiled kidnapping plot.
2 militia groups who were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me.
This morning, these 6 men are facing federal charges, another 7 facing state charges. The FBI and state police is seen here raiding the home of one of the suspects, took action after they say the men, part of a group called the Wolverine Watchmen, met this week to exchange tactical gear and to pool their money to allegedly buy explosives. The alleged mission: attack the governor before Election Day. According to investigators, the planning was months in the making, and they say the men even allegedly going to the governor's vacation home twice to conduct surveillance. The suspects, police say, even planned to blow up a bridge and allegedly intended to hold Whitmer for a trial and then execute her. According to the FBI, the men were apparently angry because of Governor Whitmer's restrictions during the coronavirus pandemic. Tensions have been high in Michigan, with militia members, some of them armed, at one point descending on the state house last spring, intimidating lawmakers. At the time, President Trump tweeted there was a need to liberate Michigan. And at the last presidential debate, instead of telling white supremacist groups like the Proud Boys to stand down, saying this.
Who would you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by.
An angry Governor Whitmer calling out the president.
Just last week, the President of the United States stood before the American people and refused to condemn white supremacists and hate groups.
Oh, remember the main ex-officer charged in the case of George Floyd? Yeah, him. He is freed on $1 million bond. Although he only paid $100,000, it was not immediately clear where he got the money to pay his bond. Well, in Minnesota, someone who pulls bond is required to pay 10%. In this case, $100,000 to the bail bonds company. They then work out deals on collateral to cover the rest. It took him this while to come up with the $100,000 though.
By posting a surety bond, Chauvin didn't have to come up with $1 million. It's common for bond companies to require 10%, so in this case, that would be $100,000. And by doing this, Chauvin has restrictions. For starters, he can't leave Minnesota without permission. He can't work in law enforcement or security. He has to turn in all his guns and permits, and he can't have contact with George Floyd's families. The other 3 officers charged bailed out a long time ago, but Chauvin has been behind bars for more than 4 months. For security reasons, they kept him at the Oak Park Heights prison instead of the county jail. Chauvin's trial is set for March 8th. The judge is expected to make some rulings in the next week or so, including whether to dismiss any charges, move the trial, and whether to hold all the trials together as one. I talked to an associate law professor who said people have to remember bailing out of jail prior to a trial is completely normal, but at the same time, in this case, it is hurtful to many people. Now, where Chauvin got the money to post this bond is not public information. He did sell his house in Oakdale in late August, so he no longer owns that and can't return there. And as you mentioned off the top of the show here, Governor Walz has gotten the National Guard ready in case there is unrest as a result of this, but as of right now, everything is peaceful and normal here.
There has been news about rapper Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion for weeks now. Well, it was recently announced by prosecutors that rapper Tory Lanez is charged in the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion. If convicted, he is facing up to 23 years in prison. What do you think? Should he be prosecuted or just deported back to Canada?
Tory Lanez has been charged in connection with the shooting of fellow hip-hop star Megan Thee Stallion. Lanez is accused of shooting Megan Thee Stallion's feet back in July after she exited his SUV during a fight in the Hollywood Hills. Lanez now faces 2 felony charges, 1 count of assault with a semi-automatic rifle and carrying a loaded unregistered firearm in a vehicle. If convicted, he could be sentenced to 23 years in prison.
About 11 years ago, in 2009, this month, President Barack Hussein Obama won the prestigious Nobel Peace Prize. Well, guess who wins the Nobel Peace Prize this time around? Let me give you a hint. It's not Donald J. Trump.
The United Nations World Food Program is the winner of the 2020 Nobel Peace Prize. The announcement was made today. The organization won for its efforts in combating hunger and food insecurity in regions facing hardship and conflict. Here's what the chair of the Nobel Committee said earlier.
The World Food Programme is the world's largest humanitarian organization addressing hunger and promoting food security. Last year, the WFP provided assistance to close to 1 million people in 88 countries who are victims of acute food insecurity and hunger.
Oh, and finally, a viral video to bring you a smile and a happy surprise ending.
Ibs were right when Nathan Apodaca posted this TikTok less than 2 weeks ago, riding his longboard to work because he was having car troubles, sipping on cranberry juice.
So it was all just one take. Got to the work, had less than 5 minutes to punch in, sitting there punching in, doing my hashtags and everything, and I wasn't going to post it.
The 37-year-old racking up more than 25 million views.
Everything was just perfect timing, perfect place, perfect song, obviously.
Fleetwood Mac drummer Mick Fleetwood recreating the video himself. The popularity of Nathan's video undeniable. Billboard saying the song Dreams saw a 374% bump in download sales in the days since the video went viral. A little Fleetwood Mac and some cranberry juice straight from the bottle. Nathan's recipe for a perfect day.
Is it true you drink a bottle a day or how,
it is about a bottle every 2 days.
Ocean Spray hearing about Nathan's affinity for cranberry juice and his car troubles, surprising him with a brand new pickup, complete with what else? Bottles and bottles of his favorite cranberry juice. Good Samaritans on TikTok had already been crowdfunding donations for new wheels for Nathan, which he immediately paid forward to his own mom and dad. Further proof that the good vibes thing isn't just an act, even in 2020.
So, what happened? That's what had happened this week. So what's your concept? Comment down below. So that's about it for now. Until next time. That's what happened this week. This is your life guide.